Hello and welcome everyone. Thank you for joining us today for this important webinar on solving the problem of idling applications. I am Paras and I will be the speaker of this webinar. Managing software licenses is a crucial aspect of any organization's IT infrastructure. Today, we will explore how OpenLM can help to optimize software license management with increasing software availability as well as reduce the costs without compromising productivity. But before we directly go over it, let's first have a look at the deciding factors of software management within the organizations. What are the challenges and how it can be managed with the help of OpenLM? Each organization is different from the other one. Let's see some of the factors which affect software management. Leadership vision and top-down approach that decides how organizations' resources should be utilized and what are the best practices. Different type of organizations. If we take the example of OEMs, they are giant organizations leading the industry. Software vendors always focus on selling the products to these OEMs as they see huge benefits by selling their products in high volumes. Also, all the OEM partners, vendors, and suppliers are restricted for using the same product for compatibility. Academic organizations like universities, colleges, computer labs. Here, software vendors want students to get hands on with their product and seek the returns in the future. But on the other side, there are corporates, services industry, startups, and suppliers. These type of organizations work in highly competitive environments. They want to optimize their resources and earn the profits. Hence, we find that software management policies are more strict in nature in these type of organizations. Software management policies may vary according to the economy as well. It's normal when booming, but during a recession, organizations try to cut down all possible resources for survival. Same goes for organizations' financial conditions, budget approvals, upcoming projects, declines in the business, or mergers. Organizations may change their software practices according to the situations. Now, very important and critical factor, which is mostly ignored, employee mindset. Important project deliveries, critical deadlines, customer priorities. These scenarios are pretty normal. When the employee is not sure about the software availability, then they will try to keep hold of the application for delivering the tasks. So, increasing the software availability makes the end user happy, but it also increases the cost. Is there any way to increase the software availability while decreasing the cost? Quite interesting, right? We'll see that how that can be done in some time. Now let's talk about bad user habits. Just imagine the world without law and order. Let's look at the picture on the slide. Will it be the same when there are crossroads ahead without any traffic management system? Everyone has to reach their destination early, right? So, whether it's managing the traffic or the software resources or anything else, controls are an essential part of the system. Definitely, everyone has to follow best practices, but it's not logical to just blame users without implementing proper controls for managing the software resources. Let's look at the challenges if there is no software management system in place. There are network license managers generating real time statistics, and for standalone or cloud based or named user application, there are processes running in the end user systems. Information is there, but it is not getting captured. It shows that application is open and in use, but is it really being used by the employee or it is just kept idle? There is no visibility or control over it. Let's look at the scenario with the help of this image in the slide. One employee retains the application even it is not being used by him or she. It can be defined as a waste of software resources. Second employee is in need of application for project work, but there is no software available. It can be defined as losing productivity, creating a negative approach to retaining the application license even when it's not required. The last employee is a licensed administrator who doesn't have any visibility or control over the softwares. It can lead to poor decision making and control over the software management within the organization. Maybe it's a lesser priority to implement the software usage control right now, but the deciding factors we discussed in the previous slide can change over a period of time, like a change in leadership or economy or company's financial or mergers. So, it is highly recommended that organizations use the best practices in terms of managing their software resources. Let's take a look at how OpenLM helps to manage their applications in a better way. For example, FlexLM is one of the license manager that is widely used for hosting application licenses on network license servers like MATLAB, ANSYS, ArcGIS, Siemens, and many more. OpenLM supports more than 70 license managers similar to FlexLM that cover almost all network-based applications worldwide. And the way these license managers generate the information is different from each other. OpenLM is configured with accurately developed parsing engines that capture the information from these license managers and generate the information in a uniform pattern and the formats. OpenLM is capable of tracking standalone name user cloud-based application as well, which doesn't have any network license server. Similar to the image shown in this slide, OpenLM captures all detailed information that can be retrieved whenever required. OpenLM helps the management to make decisions by generating deep insights and analytics. The main topic of this webinar, controlling the applications and their usage. OpenLM can track the idle times as well as license harvesting for the idle application. I will demonstrate that after this presentation. OpenLM comes with the two architecture, on-premise as well as cloud. So let's look at the cloud architecture. In the OpenLM cloud versions, central components of OpenLM system, including the database, is hosted on the cloud. Components hosted on the cloud are maintained by the OpenLM. This means upgrades are automatically served and it is monitored to ensure high availability. As a customer, you need to connect the license server using brokers and the workstation using agent to the cloud and configure the services for monitoring through web interface. Some of the major advantage of using cloud version is minimal on network setup, no need to host a dedicated server for OpenLM, maintenance and upgrades served automatically. And it's very easy to configure the OpenLM to a web interface. An open application session consume a license. However, it is not always considered that it's in use. For example, the user may have opened application A and not using it anymore. While it is still in an open state, then he start to work on another application B, leaving the application A in an idle state. OpenLM can identify such instances of idle application and help in accessing the license usage information efficiently. This information serves to make informed decision on license maintenance and procurement, optimize license allocation within the organization, improve license consumption habits, and minimizing the license hogging. OpenLM software license management can track such instances of idle application, and as a license administrator, we can check the idle periods in detail in the reports. Here, we can see the details of user's application session, its active and inactive periods. This information can be useful to check how effectively and optimally the application is used by the end users. License harvesting can help to improve productivity, optimize the license to user ratio, eliminate high license hogging, and eventually save on costs. License harvesting is a proactive way to reclaim licenses of expensive applications sitting idle on the workstation. The basic license harvesting method OpenLM implemented involves two actions: identifying the idle application sessions and safely releasing the license in order to improve the license utilization. There are several ways OpenLM supports to harvest the licenses. First one is save and close. It saves the user's open project, close the application, and return the license back to the license pool. This method works for ArcGIS, AutoCAD, SolidWorks, MATLAB, CATIA. The second method is suspend and resume. This method detects the idle application, freezes the application, and releases the license back to the pool until the license is reclaimed. This method works for all FlexLM-based applications. Agent procedure. It is a general purpose license retrieval method, and it can be used for closing standalone or node-locked idle applications, manual or remotely close. This is a manual method where license administrator can remove a license of an idle application manually from the OpenLM Easy Admin interface. OpenLM supports license harvesting for different type of applications, whether network license based or standalone or named user. OpenLM system checks if the application is idle as per the configuration done by the license administrator in OpenLM Easy Admin. For the individual application, it harvests the idle license using these methods. Similarly, standalone or node-locked applications, which could be using key-based activation license, can be also harvested if found to be idle. Now let me show how OpenLM tracks the idle times as well as how OpenLM can perform automated license harvesting. This is the OpenLM Easy Admin web interface. Let's look at License Manager servers, which shows the overview of all configured licenses and application under tracking. Let's take a look at ArcGIS production, which is a FlexLM based license hosted on this system, and this is the port on which it is configured. If I click on free, it will deep dive into the license inventory of this license server. We can see that there are three features having one quantity each. I will fetch the viewer license from this server for ArcMap application. But before that, let me show how we can configure the idle time and license harvesting for this. I will go to the administration panel of OpenLM and go to the process features, as this is network based application. For non-network based applications, we can use unmanaged processes. The configuration part is the same for that as well. Now, we can see here the list of applications which are configured for tracking idle times and license harvesting. Let's click on RMap and edit the process. We can see the configuration part here. And first is process name. We have to define the process name here. We can give the description of the application. We have to select the vendor. Now, here we have under enabled, there are three configurations. First one is a license release method. As ArcGIS is supported for save and close functionality, we can keep this license release method as extension. Under that, we have configuration for license harvesting. There are two conditions. First one is releasing licenses after the usage rate of in percentage, which means that the first condition says that it will start releasing the licenses once the usage percentage reach above the configured number and above, which means here if I select 80, then when the license server reaches 80% of the usage, then the first condition will be met. The second condition is license release threshold. It will release the licenses of the users who are idle for more than 30 minutes. When both the conditions are met, license harvesting will be triggered. At below, we have configuration for tracking of idle and active periods. Here I have configured 15 minutes, which means that if a user open an application, goes idle for few minutes and come back within the 15 minutes of period, the idle times will be not captured. But let's say a user goes for idle for 45 minutes and then first 15 minutes will be a buffer period and it will be not counted as an idle period, but the remaining 30 minutes will be considered as an idle period. Now, just for a testing and demonstration, I will reduce these parameters. Click on save and let me show my system where ArcMap is installed. Okay, I have opened my saved project from here. Now, I will make some modifications. And now I will let this application idle. This is the personal dashboard for end users to see the suspended and saved application. And from here, they can resume it. Now, let me show the other configuration. So, there are other license release methods are as well. Suspension is applicable for all FlexLM based application. Procedure is general purpose license release method and we can define or create several procedures that I will show you. What are these? Under agent procedures, I can create multiple procedures. The first one is like kill process. Also, I can even send a pop-up message to the end user for closing the application as well. Now, in the meantime, when the application is being idle, let me show you few reports which are important for customers and end users to look at. The license usage. This is a graphical representation of the license usage. Here we can see there are 146 number of licenses and the peak is 135. We can see the trends, how it goes. We also can zoom in and zoom out of the graph to see the information in detail. Also, we can see the same information in the table format by each hour. What are the total number of users using this application? Here we have max concurrent licenses used by each hour. This is the minimum and this is the average. Here we have also heat map where we can see all information by the day and we can know in which hours the application is highly utilized and which hours the application is available. So the project managers or team leads can manage their employees shift according to the time where the application is available. Let's look at license utilization. This license utilizations is calculated based on the historical usage of the application and the licenses. And here we can see that there are total 146 number of licenses. And if I set the quality of service of 95%, which means that the users will get license 95% of the time, and there are 5% of the chances they may get a denial. If that is a condition, what is the quality of service line? Here we can see that if we have 120 number of 121 number of licenses, that is sufficient to provide a quality of service of 95%. If I keep 10 more licenses or 5 more licenses as buffer, that will suffice the requirement for the users and I can cut down the remaining number of licenses. License procurement shows the complete license inventory, their quantities, their expiration date is fetched from the license files. Between particular durations, if I want to see which applications or license were never used, so I can look at it and decide whether we can allocate it to some other team members who are in need of it, or we can not renew these licenses in the next renewal. If we want to look at the denials, we can see the denial trends and denied users. The same information is represented in the table format, the users from the system, when they got denied, for from which server they got denied, what was the denial reason. Let's say here it is no more available license, like that. Now, let's check whether my application was idle and closed. Yes, we can see here that the application was idle and it saved and closed. So from this interface, we can resume the application from the same point where I was working and I have unsaved work on that application. Okay, the application is resumed. I can see that I have the same interface where I was working and the work is also saved. Whatever the changes I have made that are retained. Now, so we have seen that how OpenAlarm tracks the idle times as well as perform automated license harvesting. Just imagine this solution for all important application used by hundreds or thousands of users within your organization. Now, let's go back to the presentation and let's see OpenLM is perfectly fit for any kind of organization or situations. You have complete visibility and control over your softwares. Law and orders are maintained and users are at peace of mind. Applications are no longer kept idle without compromising productivity. Increased software availability creates a positive employee mindset and inspires to follow best practices. Management and license administrators get complete visibility and absolute control over the softwares.